Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Commander's Forge. My name is Andy Bentley, and the Forge is an area for me to talk about Magic, Commander, and anything else while we try and drag this whole mental health thing back into a spot where it's supposed to be anyway. Now, today I do want to touch on Universes Beyond and Secret Lairs. So, as we all know, the Marvel Secret Lair sold out almost immediately, and there was a lot of people not happy about that. I wasn't terribly worried about getting my hands on any of that product, but at the same time there were some cards in there that I was like, that's really neat. I might want to pick that up. I just don't have that option without going through a third-party seller that's going to charge 5 or 6 times what it was coming from Wizards. So, needless to say, I'm not a fan of the way they're doing Secret Lairs right now with, they print a certain amount and then they sell it. Part of the whole, get your orders in and then, we'll send it in 6 months is they could just tailor the number they needed. So if there was a super popular one, that's fine. They just printed more of that one. And they don't do that anymore. And I mean, I get it. The people that need that instant gratification can get that. But they are drastically underestimating how many they're going to need of them. And, well, I can't even say I'm not a fan of Universes Beyond. Because, Lord of the Rings was one of the best sets ever. It's that good. And I have enjoyed the D&D sets. I'm actually really excited to see what they do with the Final Fantasy set. I just am not a fan of how they're doing the Secret Lair side of things right now. I mean, I'm finally sitting down and looking at the Assassin's Creed cards and going, okay, what can I pick up now that it's not brand new and gonna cost me an arm and a leg to pick these cards up? And I don't know, I might put together the 5-color assassin deck. I don't know yet. I do have a good number of 5-color decks at the moment, so who knows. That said, I just am not a fan of how they've been handling things. And throw into the loop now that apparently Elon Musk is going to try and buy Hasbro. I don't know what's going to go on. Am I going to stop playing Magic? No. If he buys it, am I going to spend money on a ton of product? Probably not. I'll just make do with what I have. And yeah, that's kind of where I am with it at the moment. Now, I will say, I was watching Commander at Home the other day, which is Olivia and Brian's Commander show. And they had the guy on that's making the next Secret Lair Commander deck, and he was playing it, and it's a 5-color alternate win cons deck. Apparently it has 20 different win cons in the deck. I can't say I'm super stoked for that. I mean, I did just put together 5-color gates, but that's really all it's doing. It's either I win by assembling the gates, or I win with Scoot Swarm tokens. Like, that's kind of it. I don't know. I'm also not the biggest fan of the art that they're doing with it. It's like a really cute Tanuki-themed art, and it's just not my cup of tea. But yeah, that's kind of where I am at the moment. And I'm just trying to survive. Anywho, I will be back in a moment, and we're going to talk about a deck that I've been fiddling with for a while now. So, welcome back. A while ago, I had a sort of deck with all of the swords, and I decided to change it up and made it into a surveil deck. But that freed up a bunch of the swords that I had in there, and I was like, well, let's just get back to our roots and think about some Boros equipment. But I didn't necessarily want to go with all of the Boros commanders you're thinking of when I say Boros equipment. So instead, I went with Mary, Squire of Rohan. It's a red and a white for a 2/2 halfling knight. It has haste. It has first strike as long as it's equipped, and whenever you attack with Mary and another legendary creature, draw a card. So that's kind of what I base this on. I just slammed a bunch of legendary creatures and equipment into a deck. And not really wasting any time. I do not have all of the swords in this deck. This was just what I had in that deck. So for time and ease, I'm just going to quickly go through and say I have Forge and Frontier, which is the pro red and green. War and Peace, which is pro red and white. Feast and Famine, which is pro black and green. Body and Mind, which is pro green and blue. Fire and Ice, which is pro red and blue. Once and Future, which is pro black and blue. And Light and Shadow, which is pro white and black. Sinew and Steel, which is pro black and red. So I don't have the green-white. I don't have the one that's like instants and sorceries. So it was just what I had to work with. Yeah. Now, to cover the fact that I didn't have all of the sort ofs, I did put in a few other equipment that I feel like will help this deck. The first one just being some good old Swiftfoot boots. 2 mana equipment. Equip creature gets hexproof and haste. Equips for 1. We have Anduril, Flame of the West in here. 3 mana equipment. Equip creature gets +3/+1. Equips for 2, and whenever the equipped creature attacks, you make 2 tapped 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying. If the creature is legendary, instead create 2 of those tokens that are tapped and attacking. We threw a Basilisk Scholar in there for good old Death Touch and Lifelink. A Goldvein pick, 2 mana. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 whenever it deals combat damage to a player. Make a treasure token and equips for 1. Yeah, that's kind of it for the equipment package, because we really did want to just consistently draw cards with Mary. So we put a heavier focus on the legendary creatures. Now, I'm not going to go through all of them because that's just not how I do this. I just want to touch on some of them and explain why they're in the deck. So first up, we have Skrelv, Deflector Might. It's a single white for a 1/1 Phyrexian Might. It has Toxic 1, and it can't block. The important bit here is for a Phyrexian Might in tapping, you can choose a color. Another target creature you control gains Toxic 1 and hexproof from that color till end of turn. It can't be blocked by creatures of that color. So this is just here to help protect Mary, so he can attack. Next up, we have Sophina, Spear Sage Deserter. 2, a red and a white for a 4/4 human soldier. It has Menache, and whenever it attacks, investigate once for each non-token attacking creature. It has the Friends Forever feature. We don't need that. This is just here, in case Mary gets removed a ton of times and he's 14 mana. This can help me still draw cards. Next up, we have Aurelia, the Law Above. 3, a red and a white for a 4/4 angel with flying, vigilance, and haste. Whenever a player attacks with 3 or more creatures, you draw a card. Whenever a player attacks with 5 or more creatures, Aurelia, the Law Above, deals 3 damage to each of your opponents, and you gain 3 life. This is just another way for us to draw some extra cards. Now, Aurelia the War Leader, for 2 red and 2 white, is a 3/4 angel with flying, vigilance, and haste. And whenever she attacks for the first time each turn, you untap all creatures you control. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase. I mean, she's there for extra combats. Zerda the Dawnwalker is 1 and 2 hybrid Boros for an elemental fox. It has companion, but I'm not using it as a companion, because to use it as a companion, each permanent card in your starting deck has to have an activated ability. And mine doesn't. But it does say abilities you activate that aren't mana abilities cost 2 less to activate. This effect can't reduce the mana cost to less than 1 mana. And then it has the ability to pay 1 and tap it. Target creature can't block this turn. So for the most part, this is just in the deck to give, I believe, all of our equipment equip 1. No, I think there's one that's equip 3, so it still makes that an equip 2, but it is there to help keep the cost down on equipping our team. Next up, we have Aomer, Marshal of Rohan, 2 red for a 4/4 human knight with haste. Whenever one or more attacking legendary creatures you control die, untap all creatures you control. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. This ability triggers only once per turn. So this is also there for extra combats if I have to attack into like some sketchy situations. Next up, we're getting into the more... This is what you would expect from a Boros equipment commander deck. And first up in that category is Jor-Kadeen the Prevailer. 3, a red and a white for a 5/4 human warrior with first strike. And Metalcraft. Creatures you control get +3/+0 as long as you control 3 or more artifacts. I've also seen him built as a artifact creature token deck that was pretty sweet, but I'm getting off topic. Next up, we have Astor, Bearer of Blades. 2, a red and a white for a 4/4 human warrior. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 7 cards of your library. You can reveal an equipment or vehicle card from among them. Put it into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Equipment you control have equipped for 1. So again, this is here to reduce those equipment costs. And vehicles you control have crew 1. I will give you a fair warning, there is 0 vehicles in this deck. Next up we have Brunor Battlehammer. 2, a red and a white for a 5/3 dwarf warrior. Each creature you control gets +2/+0 for each equipment attached to it. And you can pay 0 rather than pay the equip cost of the first equip ability you activate each turn. So again, reducing the cost of equipment. After him, we have a Jor-Kadeen, first Gold Warden. There we go. It's a red and a white for a 2/2 human rebel with trample. Whenever Jor-Kadeen, first Gold Warden, attacks, it gets +X/+X till end of turn, where X is the number of equipped creatures you control. Then, if Jor-Kadeen's power is 4 or greater, draw a card. So the way this works is it doesn't matter as long as his power is 4. So if he's attacking as a 4/4 because he has a piece of equipment on him, you still draw a card. So this is also here to help us keep our hand full. Next up we have Nahiri, Forged in Fury. 4, a red and a white for a 5/4 core artificer. She has affinity for equipment, so it's 1 less for each equipment you control. And whenever an equipped creature you control attacks, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. You may cast equipment spells this way without paying their mana costs. So this is another way for us to get cards with the impulse draw, but also this cheats cost of any equipment that we happen to exile after we attack. And then we have Kemba, Ka Enduring. 1 and a white for a 2/2 cat cleric. Whenever Kemba, Ka Enduring, or another cat enters the battlefield under your control, attach up to 1 target equipment you control to that creature. Equipped creatures get +1/+1, and then it has an activated ability for 3 white to create a 2/2 cat, white cat creature token. Now, there's also a section in this deck that I've labeled utility legendary creatures, and those are the legendary creatures I've included that give bonuses. Things like Ketis, Emberclaw Familiar. 1 in a red for a 1/1 elemental lizard. Whenever a commander you control deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to each other opponent. So this gives me an extra utility, right? So it's letting me spread the damage around, and, well, I mean, that's really all it's doing. But next up we have Adriana, Captain of the Guard. 3 red-white for a 4/4 human knight with melee. And that means whenever this creature attacks, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each opponent you attack this combat, and other creatures you control have melee. So she gives them all melee, so if I attack 3 opponents, all of my attacking creatures get +3/+3. So she is just here to help punch through the lines. Heliod, God of the Sun. 3 in a white for a 5/6 god. Indestructible as long as your devotion to white is less than 5. He isn't a creature. Other creatures you control have vigilance, and then you can pay 2 white to put a 2/1 white cleric enchantment creature token onto the battlefield. Just giving everything vigilance is the whole reason he's in here. But continuing on, next up we have Bruce Tarl, Boorish Herder. 2 a red and white for a 3/3 human ally. Whenever he enters the battlefield or attacks, target creature you control gains double strike and lifelink till end of turn. So again, that's just quality of life stuff. Yes. Good old Urabrask the Hidden. Or Urabrask the worst of his cycle. But 3 red for a 4/4 Phyrexian Praetor. Creatures you control have haste. Creatures your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. So this is, again, just helping us push damage. And then the last 2 I want to touch on are, well, more stuff from Lord of the Rings. But first up we have Landroval, Horizon Witness. It's 4 in a white for a 3/4 bird noble. It has flying, and whenever 2 or more creatures you control attack a player, target attacking creature without flying gains flying until end of turn. So he doesn't necessarily care about attacking, but as long as you have 2 creatures attacking, he gives one of them flying. And that's, again, just another way of getting evasion on something that needs it. And then finally we have Guaya here. Guay here. Greatest of the Eagles. 4 in a white for a 5/5 bird noble with flying. Whenever the bird attacks, target attacking creature gains flying till end of turn. And then at the beginning of each end step, if you gained 3 or more life this turn, create a 3/3 white bird creature token with flying, and whenever this creature attacks, target attacking creature gains flying until end of turn. Not a ton of life gain in this deck, but there are ways to give things lifelink. So occasionally you just get a spare bird that can give something else a jump. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think that's going to do it for this week. And I'm going to go take a nap, I think. Anywho, I hope you had a good one, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening. All of my links can be found in my link tree in the description below. I would like to thank Ian Foss and Cody Mulpey of the band The Crypt for allowing me to use music for my opening and ending, along with Nate and Erica Jacobs for making my original logo. And I would also like to thank Christina McNichol for creating my new logo. And I'll see you next time.